And part two, if you're watching this and didn't watch part one, go back to part one because that's part one to part two. All right. Left off talking about the physiological stuff, um, and how people are, yes, born with things that may make it more difficult to find God. Me including to have some things in my life that push me far away. Now, again, the results of that are going to be that sin is in the world, that we are not made perfectly. There's going to be some different physiological things that may make things more difficult. However, we always do remain with a choice. Now, as for personality things, you're talking about yourself, um, about how that you yourself need more of a or you have the personality that more needs to see things in order to believe them. Um, and actually, my pastor is the exact same way. He didn't find God until like mid 20s ish. But he was an atheist for a long time. Didn't believe in God. Didn't really think of anything much of it, because he couldn't find really anything or couldn't find evidence or wanted to see it or something like that. I'm trying to remember from his sermons. Um, so there's a lot of different types of personalities and a lot of different types of things. But there are things out there, if you look for them. Now, for my pastor, what he did, since he wanted to see something, he'd often look and just the whole complexity. He studied a little bit of the complexity of the universe, and as well as the complexity of life. And he saw all these different things and started to see how complex and all this stuff. And started to research a little bit more into it. And started thinking there may be something out there, and that's how it started. Where he thought maybe there is something out there, and again, eventually led the long lines. Um, so I mean, there's and even like biblical evidence. I linked to a page that was talking about the various evidence of the Red Sea crossing, where they actually found a land bridge by the Red Sea and chariot wheels from the Romans. So evidence that things in the Bible occurred. Sodom and Gomorrah. They found a couple ancient cities that had a ton of sulfur pellets because the people in Sodom um, were turned into a pillar of sulfur, different things like that. So there is stuff out there that does correlate. There's other things like books like Evidence, A Case for Christ, where atheist guy actually went through the New Testament to find the validity of what happened in terms of culturally and everything else. He ended up becoming Christian through midway through his research because he found no fault in it. Um, so as for people who need to see in order to believe, there is stuff out there if you look. Now God reaches out to everyone in some way, shape, or form. I think everyone kind of knows about Jesus nowadays. And even just like this video, what I do is his way of using me to reach out to people. It always remains a choice, of course, and some people don't consider it enough. Now, as for the idea of that God making you, knowing that you're not going to become a Christian, there is a big difference between knowing the future and causing it. And that always is kind of confused because there's a Christian sect that thinks that God controls every aspect of our life and that He chooses who's going to be a Christian and not, which is totally anti-biblical because it says that God wants all people to come to Him. But just the fact that say you have I'm not sure would be a really good example. Say you just know that someone's going to do something. You didn't cause that person to do it, but you knew that they're going to do it. Um, and it's just kind of the way it goes. He doesn't force himself on anyone. He gave everyone the ability to. And for those, and I did make a video on for people who may not hear about the gospel and those things. So you might want to watch that video if you have questions about, well, what about people that may not hear about Jesus? That video answers it. I think it's called Frequently Asked Questions. Do God people send to hell? I think that's it. I'm not positive. It's in there somewhere. Um, so and it's gonna be a personal thing. Now, also, of course, there's gonna be someone working against you, and of course, Satan doesn't want people to come fight Christ. He always is kind of there trying to turn people away. In the Bible, we've messed up a bunch of people. Um, and although I don't believe that he is, I'm not the type that believe that he's every single evil action in our lives is directly from Satan. A lot of it's from sin, which started kind of with Satan and Adam. But he is going to be out there trying to lure people away. And again, if you ask different people, they're going to have different opinions on how real or how interactive Satan is. So it's kind of an opinion thing. Anyways, but there's things out there that are trying to pull you away from God, evil stuff doesn't want you to be part with God, and that always goes to it as well. But it really always is going to be a choice. I mean, you have the choice to accept Jesus or not. And just because that you need more evidence doesn't mean that you can't go out there and try and find more as well. And try and just explore. Like I said, I've kind of gone through the same thing where I need to find stuff as well. I do research on the stuff if I come across it. At least I always find an answer. Not everyone agrees with the answer, but it makes sense in some way, shape, or form. It kind of correlates with other stuff that I found in my life and how the Bible seems to be always correct. Um, so lengthy answer to that, so I apologize. But in short, you know, physiological stuff that might pull us away from God, its effect of sin in the world, and death and disease and all those things. Personality wise, we're all going to have different personalities, but there's always going to be something out there to help you through the way. There's people who find God interpersonally, that work more on an emotional basis. There's people that are more intellectual that find God through intellectual things and through studying the complexities and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you look, there's Christians of all different types out there. So to say that because you need to see evidence or you need more evidence, and thus you cannot be a Christian, doesn't totally rhyme well, because there are people who are just like you that have found Christ and did find the evidence that they're looking for. Now, of course, God might not come down to you and say, hey, I'm here, here's your evidence, but there's different things in the nature and around you. Even the Bible mentions that you look around you in the nature and all that you see, and you'll find God, evidence of God. Okay, so next part. I think we just got to the point where you just want to know my opinion of evolution. If I missed anything, please tell me. It's a little bit late at night. Sorry about that. My opinion on evolution, I don't believe in, I've got to get this right, microevolution. I believe in macroevolution. I forget if micro and macro slip around. Basically, I don't believe that a cell developed into a frog, into a monkey, into a human. I do believe, though, that there's going to be it's either macro or micro evolution. That's going to be like a dog going from a wolf to a domestic dog to a, a poodle type of stuff. Because, of course, the different gene combinations, stuff like that, produce different types of animals in the same tree. And also kind of like for Noah's Ark, they took, different types from each type of tree, and they, of course, can still populate and get to different types. Now, the reason why I don't really believe in microevolution, again, if I think that's the right one, it's either micro or macro, is because every single time I've seen, like, for instance, the number of genes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I just have never seen anything like this. If there's always was, like, an extra gene, an extra chromosome, like in plants, in animals, in people, it often meant to a sterilizing and debilitating mutation. Like, for instance, plants that have no seeds are because they added an extra chromosome or two, which made them both grow bigger, but also produce no seeds and be infertile. And as with humans, like, I forgot some of the other ones, but when they get extra chromosomes in it, it oftentimes can lead to, like I said, disability and sterility. So to say that so many things gained and lost genes to get from one stage to another, and that through that chromosomes, they gained chromosome and lost chromosomes to get to that point, and that when they gained the chromosome that they were superior enough to outbreed the rest of them, and usually, of course, there also might be incompatibility in breeding with different chromosome numbers. It just doesn't seem very likely to me, as well as the amount of time. Now, people say with infinite time, there's going to be infinite amount of changes that can happen, but we don't really live in an infinite time, even if you go by Big Bang standards. There's going to be only so much time from between, when the Earth was formed, and between when they thought that it would be habitable and stuff like that, and then to go from, a puddle of goo and various, proteins and stuff like that, to go from cell to go to all these different things, it just doesn't seem likely. And it seems like different species had a defining point to them, where they started, and there'd be probably a little more missing chain or missing links evident if there was such a thing. So that's just kind of my opinion. I gotta stop this because I'm running out of time. I hope that answers questions. If not, send me a message. I'm sorry if it was slightly confusing. I appreciate your professionalism. Okay, 4 seconds left. Bye.